Welcome back, guys, to the series that we've been doing on how and what questions you guys have, how to answer them, what they are, just the college mindset, getting into the brain of the college ministry. What are your guys' biggest questions? What are questions that maybe you didn't want to ask a pastor or questions that are maybe controversial? I want to answer those questions. And so this is the second episode in the series. And today's question is, what exactly is lust? And am I lusting just by having thoughts about women? And since this question is asking for a definition of something, I suggest that we go to the Greek translation, also the Hebrew translation of what the Bible is meaning to get down to the nitty-gritty to what exactly is the definition. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of Blue Letter Bible, which is the direct translation from Greek and Hebrew. So first, let's talk about the famous couple verses of Matthew 5:27 through 28, and I'll read them really quick. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Very famous verse. But what does this word lust right here mean? Lustful. Well, if we go into the actual translation, we go down here to lust. Let's read that.
Strong's G, 1937. Epithumeo. Epithumeo.
What does epithumeo mean? What is the definition for that? We see it down here. To set the heart upon, to covet, desire, to lust after. So just want something, to lust after anything. That doesn't just have to be a woman. That can be after money. That can be after sex in this example. This can be after many things. But what Jesus is saying in Matthew 28 is he's saying that, or Matthew 27:28, he's referring back to, you've heard it said that you shall not commit adultery. Now, what is he talking about? You guys have heard it said. He's talking about the original Ten Commandments that they knew by heart. By heart, they knew exactly what he was talking about. And he pushes the boundary even further and says, I'm not just saying that you commit adultery when you sleep with another person. I'm saying you commit adultery whenever you indulge in those thoughts with intent. So let's go back to the Hebrew, the Old Testament of the Ten Commandments. What does adultery mean there? Let's see here. Exodus 20, verse 14.
Strong's H, 5003. Na'af. Na'af.
So what this means is it's a primary root word to commit adultery. But here, down here, the last sentence is where we really see get a little insight into what's going on here, what this word means, how adultery, how it's defined, is woman breaking wedlock. And wedlock is just that commitment you make at marriage not to go sleeping around with other people. And people will say, well, I don't see the relationship between lust and adultery. Well, we see that in Ezekiel. It's very, very clear. In Ezekiel 16, verse 36 through 37. This is the sovereign Lord. This is the sovereign Lord says. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you poured out your lust and exposed your naked body in your promiscuous with your lovers, and because of all your detestable idols, and because you gave them your children's blood, therefore I am going to gather all your lovers with whom you found pleasure, those you loved as well as those you hated. I will gather them against you from all around, and I will strip you in front of them, and they will see you stark naked. We can see naked, we can see laying with your lovers, we can see lust, we can see adultery, all captured here in Ezekiel 16. So I hope it's clear to you guys that we defined what lust meant. What does lust mean? It means you, in this specific situation, not just to lust after something of an object, not just money, not just ordinary things, but specifically lust. And I think this is where the question is coming from because the second question I get is, how am I lusting just by having thoughts of women? Or am I even lusting by having thoughts about women? Very clear is, what is lust? It is lusting after a woman. Now, are you lusting just by having the thought of a woman? We can see that, get this answer from two different verses, from two verses or books in the Bible. Let's first start in Luke. And this is a temptation of Jesus when he's in the desert and he doesn't have any food. And Jesus is tempted by Satan himself. Let's read this. And Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned to the Jordan and was led by the Spirit in the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by the devil. And he ate nothing during those days. And when the days ended, when they were ended, he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread." Now, what do we know? Jesus did not sin. Jesus has never sinned, and Jesus will never sin. He took our burden on the cross because we fall short of the glory of God. We fall short of the law, but he never did. And he took the undeserved punishment on the cross. Through that, we know he never sinned. But we yet see him being trying to get that Satan's trying to tempt him. However, he's not sinning. Now, what is that dilemma? Where does that bring us? It brings us to this. It brings us to this. When you choose to indulge physically or mentally, you then cross over into sin. But if you are not indulging mentally or physically, if you are just, oh, it's on the back of my mind, it crosses my head, or the devil offers it to me, it's not a sin. It's more like an intrusive thought. You can't control that. It's only a sin about things that you can control. If you can control it and you choose to do it, then it becomes a sin and it's no longer just an intrusive thought. And we see this in Second Corinthians of capturing your thoughts, of not letting them become sin, not letting them steer you away from God. Second Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ. So when a female or whatever, if you're a woman listening to this, if a male, someone you're attracted to crosses the road, crosses the street, and they catch your eye, it's not a sin. It's not a sin to just look at somebody. However, if you have a sexual interest or attraction to that person, and you take a second look, or you indulge in mental temptations, or even go as far as physical temptations, as pushing the boundary there, that is not your wife, that is not in marriage, and you are actually breaking wedlock, then that's sin, guys. That's sin. So thank you guys for listening. I hope I summarized those two questions well. And let me know what your next questions are.